get us started.
Kim, can you stop the recording?
You want to put the
There we
slide
go.
back?
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hartford Next October meeting. This is our first meeting of the fall, and what we're doing today is actually reorienting ourselves to Hartford Next. And also we have new board members who will be joining us this evening. And to start, I'd definitely like to welcome everyone here. We're going to get a chance to introduce ourselves. And before we do the introductions, I'd like to review the agenda with you. Kim, could you pull up the agenda, please?
Oh.
And we're still seeing the presentation. There we go. And just zoom back a little bit. All right, so today, once we do our introductions, are going to approve the new chair for our Communications and Marketing Committee. And then we have an introduction that Mary is going to do. And after that, we're going to do our board orientation. Now, we have a lot to cover today, so those who are speaking, we would like for you to be as brief as possible, but give us as much information as possible. So hopefully you can do that. And then we will follow up with Mary showing us the board manual and how to access it. And then we will conclude with a short introduction, a review of the board retreat summary. We had a board retreat on March 2nd as a prelude to what we're going to be doing in the ensuing board meetings. So with that, let's get started. Are there any questions about the agenda? And someone has their
I muted them. It's okay.
Thank you. So let's start our presentation in terms of introductions. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mary.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you all had a great summer. We've been busy in the back end here. Hopefully the slide will come up again. So we can just get started anyway. So we thought we would hopefully have a little fun and do a little icebreaker.
And the icebreaker is up.
Is Mary
Right,
frozen?
she needs, yeah, I'm here.
No.
I was waiting for Kim to go to full screen. There we go. So if the King and Queen of England came to Hartford and Mayor Roonin asked you to take them to dinner at a restaurant in your neighborhood, where would you take them and why? So I'm just going to call people out to make it a little easier and keep things moving along. So let's start with our eminent chairs. Ms. Griffin.
Well, I love Jay's restaurant on Washington, across from the Children's Medical Center and the Hartford Hospital. Unfortunately, it is no longer there because they have been so gracious as to give up their space for a parking garage for the Children's Medical Center to help them expand. But the reason I enjoyed that place is when we moved to Frog Hollow, before we moved in and we were working on our house, we would go there for dinner after work. So special place in the neighborhood.
Thank you. Bongi. And I muted everybody, so you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
You're muted, Bongi.
Mute. Okay.
There you go.
So my favorite restaurant in the neighborhood is Tangiers. It's a great restaurant. It's owned by 4 brothers. They started with a truck, and now it's not only a restaurant, but a grocery store, a place where you can sit and eat, a dessert place. So it's just really a fabulous place, and the food is very fresh, and what they make is absolutely delicious. And I just think it's important. One of the most important things for me that I want everybody to know is that these brothers now are one of the major donors to when Wika has their programming. So if you get a chance, Tangiers.
Thank you, Bongi. David McDonald. And also introduce, who you are in the organization and why you're here.
Hey, hi, David McDonald, Executive Director of the Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association. So Asylum Hill has no actual sit-down restaurants in it. So I'm going to pick the neighborhood where I live, which is in the south end, southwest, more or less. Actually, Maple Avenue neighborhood. I would probably pick First and Last Tavern, just around the corner. They make really good Italian food, and it's a nice, comfy place that really has the neighborhood flavor to it. A lot of neighborhood people go there, so they would really get to see the people of the neighborhood.
That's great. Thank you. And if everyone would mute yourselves back up after you're done talking. Randall Davis.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Randall Davis, Deputy Director of the Department of Development Services here in the city of Hartford. Interesting, kind of like David, I would actually pick a to-go restaurant and maybe take them home. But I like Jamski's on Albany Avenue. I just like their food. I find it to be very good. But if I were to take them to a sit-down restaurant, I would probably pick Fire by Forge.
That's great.
Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you. Chief Teal.
Good evening. Pardon the fact that you can't see me. I am driving. But I'm Charles Teal, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee for Northeast Neighborhood Revitalization Zone Committee. If I had a choice in my neighborhood, I would say Moe's. I bring them there for breakfast at Moe's. You can't do better than that.
That's great. Vanessa Harper. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Like Randall, I think it was, I would probably live in the same neighborhood because I don't know many sit-down restaurants. I would take them to a place called Met's Kitchen, which is actually my mom's house. She has really great cooking. And so just to introduce them to probably a lot of the foods that they would get in many of the restaurants in my neighborhood. A lot of great Jamaican food. So my mom doesn't actually have a restaurant, so she probably doesn't like me putting that out there. But I would take them also maybe to Golden Crust to get some great beef patties.
That's great. It doesn't have to be sit down. So great. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Susan Lennon.
I would take them to Monte Alban on Farmington Avenue. Two brothers have owned and operated this restaurant for about 15 years. One of the pride points, not only do they have the best Mexican food, but they made it through the pandemic by doing takeout.
That's great. I don't know about anyone else. I'm hearing some restaurants I've never heard of before. Well, besides Vanessa's mom's, but that's great. Marilyn Reese. Welcome.
Yes, hi. Marilyn Reese, I'm a board member of the Upper Albany NRC, and I'm also the treasurer for the, and I was thinking of Salute as a restaurant.
Yep. And all the ones that have been here a while. Hold on, my screen change for participants. What happened here? Okay, Jack. Jeff Stewart.
And then mute myself. You know what? Arian knows how much I love these things. But anyway, breaker. I'm Jeff Stewart. I'm an at-large member, but residing Clay Arsenal. So because I'm an at-large member residing, I pick Tia Michaela, which is in Clay Arsenal. But then downtown, I call my backyard Sunbury Restaurant, great Asian fusion place.
That's great. See, Jack Antonich.
Okay, Jack Antonich, co-chair of the program committee. Not a resident of Hartford, but I worked downtown for a long time. And I guess if I was entertaining the King and Queen of England, I probably would take them to Max downtown. Maybe a little bit closer to what they're used to, but that doesn't represent my personal favorites, but that's what I would probably do.
Okay. Laura Baird.
Hi, I'm Laura. My camera's not working today. I'm a member of the Silent Hill Congregational Church, and I would probably take them to Black Eyed Sally's because the food is fantastic. There's fun music, and it's just a good time.
That's good. Elizabeth Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm an at-large member representing for the Hartford Public Library. And I would take them, we could walk over there and go to Coyote Flacco. So it's been there for a really long time. I know it may not be the absolute, I haven't been to Monte Alban for a long time. So their Mexican may be better than Coyote Flacco, but they are very warm and welcoming. And she remembers me from decades ago when they first started there. So they really are hardworking, and it's a wonderful place to go and relax and have a margarita and excellent food.
Great. Frank Sentner.
Hi there, Frank Sentner. I'm Vice President of SOTO NRZ and co-chair with Jack of the Program Committee for Hartford Next. Right here in our neighborhood, we have a nice Peruvian restaurant, Rinconcito Peruano, and I would take the King and Queen of England out of their comfort zone, unlike Jack, and tell them to try the ceviche. It's magnificent.
Great. Mary Pelletier.
I must admit, I would take the King and Queen of England to the Pond House, which is a Hartford park, and it was the food I think is grown somewhat locally. And Lewis actually had started at the Reader's Feast on Farmington Avenue, and then the people from the now Friends of Elizabeth Park, now Elizabeth Park Conservancy, nabbed Lewis, and he has transformed the Pond House into quite the venue. It's still a Hartford location, and I do know that the King of England is big on organics, and so that might be, I don't know, an excuse to talk about.
All right, bye guys.
City.
Great. Good ideas. Violette Haldane.
Hello, Violet Haldane. I live in the Blue Hills section. I'm treasurer of Hartford Next. If the King and Queen were to come to Hartford, I would probably take them to Dunn's River Restaurant in Hartford. It's a Caribbean restaurant. It was a British colony. They still hold British traditions there, but mostly the reason for taking them there is the Cricket Hall of Fame is upstairs, and any country that was colonized by British play cricket, and the Cricket Hall of Fame is the first in the world and the only international Cricket Hall of Fame in the world. So I think they would enjoy the history and the cuisine. Thank you.
That's great. Carrie Shea.
First of all, I'm sorry for joining so late. So where would I take them? Oh, so many good options. It's hard to imagine. Recently I've really enjoyed some of the Peruvian restaurants on Franklin Avenue.
very good. There's this one dish that it's fried calamari on one side and ceviche on the other side, and whoever came up with that is a genius. And I think the British need to know about this. So that's where I would take them.
That's great. Thank you. Drupadi. You need to unmute Drupadi. Okay, maybe she can join us in a bit. Kathy Evans. Kathy Evans. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I don't think she's here.
Oh, okay. I thought I had her checked off as signing in. Who else? Who have we not called?
Emily.
Emily Lugo.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I would take them to, I'm from the committee in the South NRZ, representing for Carl Williams. Since living right here on Franklin Avenue, there's so many restaurants here. And I second that with Carrie. But there's also a Peruvian restaurant right here in the corner of Standish and Franklin. It's called the Rockin' Chicken. And they make their rotisserie chicken in a charcoal grill in the back. And the chicken is always moist and juicy, and it's flavorful. And then I will take them to Modern Bakery, a couple of streets down, for some good pastries, Italian pastries.
Definitely got to get cannoli.
Oh yeah, and the cheesecake.
That's great. Janine McMahon just joined us, so to bring her up to speed, we're introducing ourselves by answering the question, Janine. If the King and Queen of England came to Hartford and the mayor asked you to take them to dinner at a restaurant in your neighborhood, where would you take them and why?
While she's doing that, I think Drupadi's ready.
Drupadi.
Okay, yes.
There you are.
Excuse me. I would have to take them in my backyard because I will have to be their personal chef since I'm a vegetarian and don't visit the restaurant. So I'll prefer to feed them in my backyard with all the delicacies that I can cook.
There you go. And Miss Bernadine.
I don't have anywhere to take them in my neighborhood, but I would take them to breakfast at Effie's.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
Breakfast is good. Did anyone I miss?
Marcus and Janine.
Oh, Marcus. Okay, Marcus.
Hi, yes. I would take them to a little unconventional, but Fire and Spice. It's not necessarily a sit-down place. It's very small to go, but it's delicious food, vegan food, that I think everyone should experience when coming to Hartford.
Thank you. And I am Mary Falvey. I am a member at large representing the Hartford Preservation Alliance. I would take them to the tavern at Keeney Park, and we would order hot dogs because part of me is a historian, and his grandparents, when they came to visit and went to Hyde Park with Franklin Roosevelt, poor Franklin's mother was scandalized because Eleanor did a barbecue and served hot dogs.
So,
and again, it shows off like Elizabeth Park. We show off our beautiful parks. Anyone else I missed?
Janine,
Good evening, everyone. So sorry I'm
Oh, there
late.
she
I was
is.
at a PrAC ad hoc meeting. I would take them to one of the newest spots on Pratt Street, the Hartford Flavor Company. It is so cute and quaint, and the food is absolutely delicious. And the staff, their energy is just through the roof. And so I would take them, yeah, to the Hartford Flavor Company downtown. And I'm Janine, representing the Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association.
Great. Is that everybody?
I believe so.
Great. Thank you all. And there's got I don't know about anyone else, but there's a lot of places now I want to try. I haven't been or haven't been in a long time. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Before we move into the next part of the agenda, and it was very appropriate that Janine was the last person to go, but Janine has volunteered to chair our Communications and Marketing Committee. So I'd like to present Janine to the board. And first action is to approve her as the new chair of the committee. So what we need is a motion.
Madam Chair, Jeff Stewart, I'll move before she changes her mind.
Jeff, you're fine. Thanks. Do we have a second?
Second.
This is Mary. I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. So all of those who are in favor of approving Janine as our new communications and marketing chair, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any abstentions? Don't hear any. Any nays? Well, Janine, as Jeff said, it's too late. You're it. Welcome. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome, and thank you all for entrusting me with such a important task. Hopefully, our communications committee do some really great things to ramp up the messaging around Hartford Next and get some more residents in our community aware of what we do and more involved. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Well, now we're going to move into the part of who we are. So to start off, Kim, we'll go to the next slide. So who we are. Yes, so we all know we're the Coalition of Hartford's Neighborhoods, and we started as Hartford 2000 back in 1997, and we have our 501c3. So I'd like to ask Bernadine to talk a little bit about how we came to be. So Bernadine, I'll turn it over to you for a little short history lesson.
Again, good evening, everyone. Although the state established the Neighborhood Revitalization Zone Act in 1995, and it was affirmed by the city in 1996, we did not start until 1997, and that was a collaboration of residents that found out about the NRZ legislation, and we decided that we wanted to join together and try to make a difference in our city. What most of us thought at the time was that everybody else was getting something, but our neighborhood was getting nothing. We soon found out that all of us were lacking, and we needed to make sure that our voices were heard. So we joined together with the legislation that stated that residents were the majority rule for an NRZ, which gave us the opportunity to feel that we could make a difference. And we were joined by people, property owners, businesses, and nonprofit stakeholders and others. And we finally, after understanding the legislation, the city became a real partner with the residents, and we were able to establish our plans and then work on redevelopment in our neighborhoods. We had forums, and one of the biggest forums that I recall is the one when they wanted to bring a baseball stadium to Hartford. And everybody had an opinion about it. I mean, every single person that was here almost had an opinion. So we convened a forum at the library, and it was overflowed. We were upstairs, downstairs, outside, everywhere. And we were able to get really large news coverage. And we heard from residents with different perspectives and and had different issues. But we all know what happened. So even though you may have different opinions, even though you may not be agreeable about a plan or about something, you can get together and exchange ideas and help to make things happen. And that's what we did as Hartford 2000. I keep getting it mixed up because it's Hartford Next now, and I'm always calling it Hartford 2000. You can look in your brochure and you can see the various things that Hartford 2000 and Hartford Next has done. And if you look at it from the perspective that all of the residents and all of the NRZs have their own plans, their own ideas, and their own concepts about what they need in order to be a healthy neighborhood in the city of Hartford. But we all recognize that together we can assist each other where it's needed, and we can support each other where we need the support. So we call on each other when we need support, and we will do that. And we allow each of us to individually choose what's important for our neighborhood to become a thriving neighborhood for the city of Hartford. Prior to Hartford 2000, we were not close, and government was able to divide us by us thinking that one neighborhood was getting one thing and another neighborhood was getting something, but we weren't getting anything. And again, like I said, we found out that we all were lacking and we all needed something. I guess the last thing I would like to say is we collaborated to ensure that we strengthen each other when requested, and then we would work together for a better city. And that is the most important thing that I think that has held us together all these years. And I think that we need to commend ourselves because much of that time we have not had paid staff to help us, and we still were able to kind of drag along and get things to happen. Can we be stronger? Yes, we can. We can be stronger with new blood. We can be stronger with better participation. We could be stronger when we volunteer to help get things together. And we certainly can get stronger when we have money so that we can hire staff. But until that time, I believe that this organization is the organization that will help us to continue to maintain our city.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bernadine. Bernadine, our Chair Emeritus, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Bongi to talk a little bit about the legislation. And Bongi, how about 5 minutes?
Yep, I will make it fast. So in 1995, the state of Connecticut established, it was nationwide, a Public Act 95 H340, which is an establishment of neighborhood revitalization processes. And the driver of this was, as you can see by the sentence below, it talked about blight and decay, which was a focus of the NRZs. Next slide. Next up. So the Public Act is both a process as well as a power for the NRZs. Section 6 to 602, 607, and 608 are the processes. I'm not going to read them, as you heard Marianne. She's going to keep me on time. And then sections 603 to 606, those are the power that the NRZs, that the statute provides the NRZs. As you can see, I think eminent domain, rent to receivership focused on those properties that are out of compliance. Next slide, please.
So why were they formed? I'll just read the first one. It was to establish a predefined structure and process for revitalizing neighborhoods with a significant number of abandoned and blighted buildings in Connecticut. Next slide. Oh, before I pass, I think we all know that it's businesses, the neighborhood. So can you just go back so everybody can see? It's business owners, stakeholders, those who seek to advocate for their neighborhood issues. Next slide, please. So our mission is to be a collective voice of Hartford residents and stakeholders working together to strengthen and grow our community. Next slide, please. Our goals are to convene and platform to address community issues throughout the city and across neighborhood boundaries. It is to support the work of the NRZs, especially the implementation of the strategic plans. It is to advocate for issues that affect our cross-neighborhood boundaries and that are of common interest, and to also to build a support for the NRZ program and process. Next. It is also to educate ourselves and others about the NRZs, their work, capabilities, and the power. Just so everybody knows, our plan is to do a high-level overview about the statute, and then during each of the board meetings in the future, we will have, as part of our education, we'll drill down on the details of each of what the powers are and how we as NRZs can support each other in doing some of the work. Next slide, because I think people can read. So our programs and services are delivered through the Neighborhood Training Institute, and they are community communications, which produces a newsletter, website, through social media. The Neighborhood Training Institute, this past year, we've delivered It's Our City, and we're also in the process of finishing up with the Get Out the Vote initiative. In the past, we've passed neighborhood standards. We can also support the NRZs with technical assistance. We'll currently also have a history project, and we will continue to have the leaders meetings.
Kim, can you go, thank you, Bongi. Can you go back to the last slide? Just a couple of things. So what I'd like to just capsulize, just summarize what these things are. So we talked about the Neighborhood Training Institute. So education of our NRZs and our community, that's one of the goals. And then also just sharing what we know, but also across NRZs, sharing information, as well as providing tools. And the neighborhood standards come as tools which you can use, as well as we have the compliance. How do you comply? And we had Kim was able to help us with that, but also collaborating, which is why we have the NRZ leaders meetings. It gives us the NRZ leaders a chance to meet with each other and share. So thank you. Can we go to the next one? So finances. What is our source of income? We are grant funded, and it says here 90%. I would say we're 95% grant funded, and it's usually restricted because most of the funders want you to support a program or an idea that they support, which you can understand. I say that we have about 10% of other sources. A lot of that is what I would call in kind. So we have individuals who volunteer to do things, but they're spending their own money. Those things count. But what we'd like to see is a more diversified source of our income. So most of our income, as you can see, comes from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. They've been very generous with us. We've also been able to receive some funds from the state of Connecticut, which has allowed us to rent our office, as well as to provide some funding to support the executive director that we are in the process of hiring. The city of Hartford has been helpful in the last 3 years to provide funding to the NRZs for community engagement, to allow the NRZs, as you well know, to purchase equipment to do hybrid meetings, to support community engagement, as well as other things, as well as to provide administrative services, which are funded through the city of Hartford, and are implemented by Kim, who many of you know. And then LISC has helped us with AmeriCorps service members over the last 3 years. They've helped us with funding to pay for them. So we're grateful to LISC as well. Now, our current budget looks as about $190,000. It sounds like we have a lot of money to spend, when in actuality, we don't, because we've served as fiscal sponsors for the NRZs. You think of the money from the city of Hartford is in our budget. We have to account for that. And so it looks like it's substantial under our circumstances, but a lot of it's all tied up in programs and for the city of Hartford in terms of the NRZs. And we've served as fiscal sponsors for those NRZs who aren't 501c3 organizations. And that's a service that we have begun to provide because we have the capacity to do it at this point in time. So just remember that if you're not a 501c3 and you're getting funding and you need an organization to back you up, we're there for that. At this point, what I'd like to do is talk about our structure. And that's the next slide, please. So our org structure, everything that you're going to see from here on out is really based on our bylaws. Now, our bylaws are in the manual. We are in the process of approving our updated bylaws. So soon, hopefully by the next annual meeting, we will have the new bylaws in place. So as you can see, we're currently, as we said, searching for a full-time executive director. We have the board of directors. It is comprised of the NRZ members. Each NRZ has sent a representative. We have City of Hartford, who's representatives who sit on the board. And then we have at-large members. So those are the boards, those are the voting members. And then we have associate members. Next slide, please. So according to our bylaws, voting members have 2-year terms. Ideally, they would be staggered so that we don't have complete turnover for an NRZ. And each NRZ has 1 vote. Even if you have 2 representatives, you have to confer together and you get 1 vote. So that it's not a disadvantage to those who only have 1 member. Associate members are non-voting, but associate members may serve on committees. They can co-chair along with a board of director member who is a chair. And it's any individual who is like-minded and aligns with our mission in terms of working with our NRZs and our purpose. Next slide, please. So there you all are. And I'm going to turn it over now to Jeff, who's going to talk about our roles and responsibilities. Jeff.
Okay. Next slide, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. So individual board members' responsibilities, everybody can hear me, hopefully. It's spelled out right there. We act in accordance with the legal standards. We have a duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of obedience. Staying faithful to Hartford Next mission. Next slide. And then our roles and responsibilities right there in terms of trustee of all their assets, approve annual budgets, oversee financial affairs, work at Hartford Next, periodic review of bylaws, which we're doing now, appoint executive director EA, which we're doing now, and establish policy duties of staff positions, and enter contracts with Hartford Next to determine Hartford Next positions on issues. Next. Then we ask you to attend meetings, be prepared, and to participate in Hartford Next events, and to represent your Hartford Next at your NRZ meetings, which is key, because sometimes the past people come to our meetings and not shared it with their NRZ. So we emphasize that please share at your monthly NRZ meetings what happens at Hartford Next. Next. And then the board structures into the officer, there's 2-year terms. We have co-chairs, secretary, and treasurer. Is that it? I got another one?
No.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can do the rest if you'd like. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
No, Yeah, because I'm going to call on you again. Okay, so our board structure is we have standing committees, and we're going to hear from them in a little bit. But for the executive committee, it's the board co-chairs, the officers, the chairs of the standing committees. We have the ex officio representatives of the city of Hartford and our chair emeritus. Next slide. For our standing committees, again, in addition, we have program committee, the communications and marketing development, finance admin, governance. We have a new committee, and it's an ad hoc committee because the board decided we wanted to move in this direction, but environmental justice or environment committee. So you'll hear more about that a little bit later, but understand that directors are required to actively participate in at least one committee. I know everybody's busy, so that's why we say at least one. And we really would like for people to be very active to move your committee agenda forward. Next slide. Okay. So what we're going to do for the next few minutes is for each committee to tell you what they do. And the part of this is so that you understand the various committees. And if you hear of a committee that you have not participated in, or you'd like to, by all means, reach out. And if you want and you have the capacity, you could actually serve on two. So I'll say that. But the executive committee, just so you understand beyond what was already stated, is responsible for overseeing the work of the board and making recommendations regarding board governance. And the authority of the committee is to take it, that it may take action on organizational matters between board meetings, and we must report to the board on such actions. We try to limit that. Sometimes in an emergency, something needs to be done in a timely fashion. The executive committee can step in and if they agree that that's something we should be doing, then approve it. And you already know the composition of the executive committee. So the duties, what are the duties? The committee is responsible, I said, is overseeing the work of the board. But the committee will develop board meeting agendas and issue the agendas, monitor the performance of the executive director, conduct annual performance reviews, make recommendations to the board regarding the executive director's performance, goals for the next year. The committee is a sounding board for the executive director, and the committee will review this charter, as will other committees, review the charter and recommend proposed changes to the governance committee for review, and then it goes back to the board for approval. Here's something that is very key. The executive committee shall not have the power, and this is according to the bylaws, amend the bylaws, adopt the budget, take any action that is contrary to or a substantial departure from the direction of the board, or appoint or remove directors or the executive director. So before I move on, are there any comments, questions on the executive committee? All right, I'm going to pass it off to the program committee.
Hello, everyone. I'm Frank Sentner. I'm co-chair with Jack Antonich of the program committee. Jack and I are going to sort of tag team this. So Jack will start. Actually, we should go through who the members of the program committee are. There's Jack and myself. We've got Emily Lugo, Chief Teal, Marion and Bongi, and Janice Castle. And am I forgetting someone, Jack?
No, but I noticed on the list that it seems like we have a new member, Drupadi, I believe. Welcome. And
welcome.
So
we haven't
we'll
met.
in touch with you and bring you up to date.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, Jack, can you start with the charter?
Oh, Frank. Last time we spoke, I thought you were going to cover the charter.
Oh, no.
Okay, guys, we've got a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So just this is Mary, if I can just interject, we'll be getting to the website.
We'll be getting to what?
We lost you, Mary.
If people want to look up what the charter is for a specific committee, we'll show you where it is.
Okay, so we don't have to read the charter.
Just give a brief overview.
Okay, well, I mean,
I have something in front of me, so I can touch on the highlights about the purpose of the committee. So basically, it says the program committee will develop, implement, manage, and coordinate programs with a focus on educating and engaging NRC members and Hartford citizens about economic development, redevelopment, quality of life issues, leadership, community engagement, and empowerment, and municipal government functions. So it's very broad. We have been working in that direction. We talk at different times about the different programs. One of the things that's been hindering us was lack of funding to actually deliver on some of them, but we had identified recently that we wanted to do something in the leadership area and something in the economic development area. And that's still in process and being worked on. The main program right now, as was mentioned before, is It's Our City, which is going to be 12 sessions of a series, which we've completed 10 to go. And those will be done every other week. We'll have a break during the Christmas and early winter, and then we'll be back in the spring to finish up on that. And let me just make one main comment about what we've encountered as we've been going forward. And that is we have a relatively small group. We discuss items, we come to conclusions. Sometimes we have a difficulty in implementing things because of the lack of capacity. So my appeal is that we would like to really expand the scope and involvement in the program committee. So we probably will be going out to the NRZs to request that they reach out into their membership to try to find people with interest and skills and ability that would like to join us. And one of the aims will be that, as Bernadine mentioned, we have 13 NRZs, and they basically operate somewhat independently in terms of goals and objectives in their neighborhoods. But what we need to know at the Hartford Next level is what are the things that most, if not all, of the NRZs would like to see accomplished, that we can truly work together and produce. So anybody that would like to be involved, to contribute, and give us more solid supporting these diverse NRZs that are out there, that will be very welcome.
Thank you, both Frank and Jack. I'm going to turn it over to David, a couple of minutes, please, in terms of promoting and talking about development committee.
All right, thank you, Marion. Dave McDonald here. I'm chair of development committee. Members of the committee include Marion Bongi, Susan Lennon is also a member, as well as Mary Pelletier. Our charter basically says that we're a standing committee, that we need to we focus on development, fund development, and we oversee and engage in fundraising activities for Hartford Next. So that's the primary goal. I'm taking an approach to this, and as chair, I'm advocating that we develop sustainable funding for the long term. I feel strongly that it should be from the state. I think the state created NRZs. This organization is trying to support our local NRZs. It's logical and rational that the state would support that work through Hartford Next. And I think that they can be convinced to do that. If we start now, we're developing right now a survey for all the NRZs that will help us collect the information we need to make a good case to our legislative delegation, as well as others in the legislature, that this should be supported. So that would be a major push coming up with this session to try to get some additional dollars in the budget for Hartford Next. We intend to probably meet with OPM. I know people are working on setting up that meeting. So that's pretty much the work of the committee.
Well, thank you, David. Nice that finance is following development. Violette?
Thank you. So the Finance Committee, there are 3 of us currently on it, and we welcome anyone who would like to join us. We don't have tons and tons to do, but when we do have work to do, it is a bit of time consuming. I also want to just thank the past leadership of Hartford Next for getting us a bookkeeper. And so when I started as treasurer, we were doing everything in spreadsheets. And then we went to QuickBooks, but now we have a bookkeeper that does everything and can run reports for us. So our work of the Finance Committee is much easier due to that. And basically, we are responsible for the budgeting and the financial planning of the organization. We're responsible for policies, internal controls, policies and procedures, and making sure that our books are in order, that everything is legal, and we have safeguards to protect the assets of the organization, which is our primary responsibility to administer and manage the fiscal and physical resources of Hartford Next. I think that's it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Well, thank you, Violette. If there are questions, we can get them to you later.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, you can talk about governance.
All right. As Mary Falvey says at the end of the presentation, you can read all the exciting things on there, but just basically, I'm a member of the governance committee along with Marion and Mary Falvey. And basically, what we do is we recruit and get people onto the board, associate board members, and then we give them the tools to be good board members in terms of helping to review bylaws, so on and so forth, and help them to do the governance thing. The great thing I'll just say about governance is that if you're really a nosy person like I am, it's a great way to get to know throughout the city because it gives the opportunity to reach to the NRZs to see what people in the neighborhoods want to be a part of this organization and drag them in. So it's a good way to get to know the city and get to know the intricacies of NRZ. So that's a plug to get people to come join the organization. It's mundane stuff, but we can make it fun by doing it. So come on, we need people. We even need a chair. So read up on it and then ask questions about it later. Let's go.
Yeah, I like what Jeff said, because I think it's responsibility of all of us as Hartford Next board members and as members of your NRZ to recruit within your NRZ for your partner to work with you on Hartford Next, but also you can also recruit others who can work on committees. They don't have to be a board member to support committees. So you can be recruiting all the time and so that we can help Hartford Next and we can also help your NRZ. So Janine, marketing and communications. Are you still here? Janine?
I am sorry. I was trying to unmute. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Okay. So again, I'm Janine, new voted chair of the communications committee. And our committee comprises of Elizabeth Davis, Randall Davis, Marian, Jean Holloway, Cheryl Ziner, and Sibongale Magunbale. I hope I didn't say that name incorrectly.
Bongi Magobani.
Magoban. Got you. Maggie. Oh, sorry, Bongi. Okay, Bongi. Apologies. Yes. And so our communications and marketing committee, we play a pivotal role in enhancing the visibility and engagement of our neighborhood revitalization zones and the organization itself. And so we're tasked with developing and implementing strategies to effectively promote the initiatives and activities of Hartford Next and of course the affiliated NRZs, fostering collaboration, partnership, and all of the work that we're doing. And so we proactively manage any outreach and marketing endeavors, and we also aim to strengthen community involvement, attract new resources, and support the overall mission of the organization. And so when we think of programs and all of the other committees, I think there's really great alignment and collaboration that should happen amongst all of us, because the promote programs, we can also help to improve our messaging so that we can position ourselves for more funding. And so I look forward to ways that we, determining ways that we could work collaboratively, and each committee support each other's efforts. And so thank you.
Well, thank you and welcome. And let's see, let's go to our ad hoc committee. Mary Pelletier, please.
Hi, so I'm Mary Rickle Pelletier, and I am I'm helping form the ad hoc committee on the environment. And there's, it kind of goes back and forth between environment, which is a more sort of science and planning focus, and environmental justice, which most of Hartford, it has environmental justice issues in underserved communities, but also environments that have been damaged. And so the work, we've developed a charter, and I wanted to read our purpose of that, which is our mission is to empower and inform NRZs and larger community, encouraging a shift towards sustainable practices that improve every resident's standard of life while preserving and safeguarding the natural environment in which they live. The committee will make sure that in furthering this goal, its actions will counsel acknowledged environmental justice advocates, I'm assuming communities in the Hartford region, acknowledging the distinct obstacles and inequalities encountered by certain disenfranchised communities. The committee will promote educational and environmental endeavors that will benefit the communities. So that is the latest in a draft environmental ad hoc advisory committee charter that's we've worked on multiple times with Jeff Stewart and Marion and other advisors, including Joe Cruz, at Trinity College AmeriCorps student who's been helpful. So there's also the composition of the committee will include 2 voting members, as well as others who are interested, associate board members, which I believe I'm an associate board member, and residents and volunteers and subject matter experts as well. The committee will meet quarterly. We have developed a detailed spreadsheet, which is to capture some of the areas like litter or waste, and that are very specific issues and concerns in different neighborhoods. River, obviously, water quality is a big concern of mine, but there's also air quality. Some people are experts in that. So the committee will review includes climate change, healthcare, environmental sustainability and justice, environmental educational sustainability, and ecosystem service benefits. And all of that, those are described in the charter. So I don't know if my 2 minutes is up, but I think that is a summary. Fair enough?
Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you. I just muted myself. So can you hear me? Because it says I'm muted. Okay.
No, you're on.
Okay. So you've heard about all of the committees. Again, we are all recruiters. If you know someone in the community who might be a good person to serve on one of our committees, by all means, let us know so that we can reach out. The governance committee would like to know so that we can ensure a good fit. But again, it's all, we all have a responsibility to help us be a strong organization. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mary, who is going to show us some new things.
Yes, so Kim, if you can unshare. There we go. Okay, so are you seeing our website?
Yes.
Anyone? Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. So when I was chair of the Communications and Marketing Committee, one of the things I was tasked with was doing an upgrade of our website. We were very fortunate. We were selected as one of the organizations for the Hartford Foundation who provide us with a subscription to what's called Catch-A-Fire, which is a nonprofit that puts professionals in touch with nonprofit organizations like us from across the country and across the world. And we were able to have a really good web designer for free who helped us design our new website. So this is just the fun. In the chat, I put the link, so make sure you copy that and have it. But the important thing, this was done at the end of last year. The important thing to know is we now have at the top of the menu is a board resources page. So when we click on the board resources, when you do it, you'll be queued. It's password protected. So we sent that out in the call to meeting, the meeting notice, and please don't share it. But that will be what you're doing. And hold on, let me see if I can get rid of this at the bottom. And so when we go to board resources, you will be led. There is at the top is an opportunity if you need to download the whole board manual, you can do it from here. I'm not doing it now because it's a big file and it takes some time. But essentially, all the elements of our board manual are here on this page. So who we are, we'll list the elements, our mission, our purpose, our framework for the future, our change agendas. The director's roles and responsibilities that we went over with you is there. The meeting ground rules that a lot of you follow the same as well, it is there. So I'm not going through every section tonight. It's up to you to get on there and just kind of poke around and then see what's there. We have a section about who we are. Let's see, that was who we are. Who we are. Here we go. We have a section for the board of directors. So if you're looking up to see who's on the board, this is where you go to. We also have, again, for download, the NRZ leaders contact list and Hartford Next, as well as whatever the most current directors board list is, will be there for you. And as I mentioned earlier, the board committees are all listed, who are on the board and their committee charters. We can also put, so Mary Pelletier mentioned that they were doing a spreadsheet. We can put that on here if you want to have it both as a reference for yourself, but also to share with other members of the board. And we can put it on there and then send you a link back that you can use to share with board members. Again, this is we've got a firewall on this thing, but this is for the boards to use. We have all our organizational documents. So we were started as Hartford 2000. So our certificate of incorporation with the Secretary of State is here. Our current bylaws are here. When we do the next annual meeting, we'll have some updates to that. So we'll make sure those updates are there. The conflict of interest form, I hope all of you have downloaded it from your call to meeting, and we'll get that back to Jeff. The certificate of amendment for when we changed our name from Hartford 2000 to Hartford Next, and then the actual policy for conflict of interest.
I have a a question about the conflict. This is Mary.
Yep.
So I think I'm an ad hoc member, but it's a little confusing. But B, I think I've filled that out before. So do we fill that out annually?
It should be done annually, yeah. Normal board policy is to have that done annually.
Thanks.
Just in case something has changed, yeah. Thanks, that's a really good question. One section that I'm personally excited about is we have our NRZ leader resources. So we have, this was the, I believe, a lot of people had, but especially Janice Castle, the NRZ, the compliance best practices, which is a resource that every NRZ leader and chair should be reading right away, and just goes through a lot of information besides the history of how the NRZ started. But, you know, this is where, you know, you're supposed to be making annual reports to certain people. You're supposed to be providing minutes to the town clerk. So this is a really important resource, I think. The other thing we have on here, we have some NRZ facts, a state statute, something that sometimes we talk about, but it's, you know, something we need to do. This is the neighborhood standards. So Hartford Next put together neighborhood standards that are just basically, you know, this is what a neighbor should do. This is how our neighborhood should look like. You know, we shouldn't be parking vehicles on the lawn or doing drugs outside or making a nuisance of ourselves. But also here are resources, because we know we have 311 that we can take care of, but sometimes doing a little more personal can help. So, for example, if you have a problem with a business in your neighborhood, you can start off with, we have templates that you can use and processes, you know, get in touch with the business owner. Maybe they don't realize they're not supposed to be doing it. Maybe they're not there all the time and they don't realize that these things are coming. They also have a standard that you can change to however you want to personalize it. But one thing some people don't realize is if someone gets a notice in the mail saying, hey, you know, you're really not following our codes, you're doing something you really aren't supposed to. A lot of times people will say, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that, or I meant to do that, and we'll get on the ball. So sometimes, so we don't have to get the city necessarily involved, you can do that. This is also an excellent way to like make contact with the residents and businesses and kind of bring them into the fold of your NRZ.
Mary, I'd like to give a little backstory on the neighborhood standards.
Sure.
Bernadine knows that these were done by a group prior to my joining Hartford 2000 and then converting over to Hartford Next. But this was a collab in terms of doing the letters and the package and everything. This was a collaborative effort between 3 NRZ chairs and myself and Janice Castle from the city. It was Kathy Evans from Southwest Behind the Rocks, Robin Zaleski from South Downtown, and at the time, Denise Best from Upper Albany. And we knew there was a need, so we took the time and actually worked through to upgrade and make it useful. So these are the kinds of things that we can do to help, you know, identify a problem. Let's figure out how to solve it. Let's do what we can. And this is one example of NRZs coming together for a common good for everyone. So now this is available to all NRZs, and we need to start using it because, as Mary said, many times individuals just have no idea of what they don't know. So thank you for sharing this, Mary.
Yep. There's also NRZ strategic plan guidelines for you to look at, and also for NRZ compliance guidelines. So that's really important. And if you bring anything, as we said before in one of the previous slides, the communications with the directors and the NRZ go 2 ways. So we expect you to attend our monthly meetings and to attend, you know, be on one or two committees. But really important too is that then you're going back to your NRZ at their next meeting with what's happening at Hartford Next. And I think this might be a good place to start to say, you know, we have these resources, you know, who's gonna, you know, just doing it. It may be a good opportunity to involve someone who comes to your NRZ, but you know, may not be vocal, or just to get them more involved in what's going on in the neighborhood. So it's everything I look at as it's an opportunity for community engagement. And then, so we did our compliance, and then last but not least, we have a whole list of articles on how to be a good board member. And we're going to leave it to you on the honor system that you'll go through and read a few, especially legal responsibilities of nonprofit boards. Working board versus governing board, I think that'll be important for everybody to review once we have now an executive director. So the board isn't necessarily running the day-to-day business, and how does those roles change? And they're just good. If you sit on any board, it's a good refresher. So one thing that we also have, and I didn't queue up the and I'll make sure I'll put it in the chat. We also now have a YouTube channel. Woohoo! And we'll be putting this meeting on. So now this will be a reference point if we have someone come new to the board in between annual meetings. We'll just make sure that they get the link and that they'll be able to have a good review and for everyone. So we won't necessarily have to do a whole board orientation every year. Also on YouTube, we're taking advantage of putting the It's Our City is now on there. So the episodes are being filmed and then we're uploading it to our website. So also make sure that you follow that. The other thing, I got a minute. An important section of our website is the Find Your NRZ. So this is where if people are looking to find what NRZ they're in, they have the map to use for that. And the map expands and drills down to specific streets. But also important is we have a page for each NRZ located on our website. So it is extremely important that if you have like an annual meeting for your NRZ, you need to let us know who the new chair is, or who the new treasurer, or if you have a communications director. We've also been begging for months, years, for photographs, because this is a way to showcase your NRZ. This is Frog Hollow's. As it turns out, Frog Hollow has a website. So if you have a website, make sure it's there on our list. If you don't have a website, this will be your website. So we can put, within reason, we can put information that you want on there and just get you a link. It'll be hartfordnext.org and then your NRZ name after it. If you have a Facebook page that you are regularly updating, we're happy to put that on here. And this is where the information that people can go to this is where we're meeting. As it turns out, Frog Hollow is hybrid, so we give the in-person location and the Zoom meeting. So it's important that you let us know what that is, so the information is up to date. And that, I think, is it.
Well, this is exciting, Mary. I think this is a step forward in terms of what our website can do. And I would say too, if you, what you can do is help us publicize and share some of the YouTube videos that we have, particularly It's Our City, because we want to provide information to the NRZs, to the residents. And so the purpose for recording is to make sure that we could share it. So thank you, Mary. Kim,
thank you.
If you could pull up the document that we had from the retreat. So we had a retreat on March 2nd, And given a lot of things that were happening, we were supposed to have a fall retreat. So this evening, what I wanted to do was to at least share the summary of some, I guess this was our collective ideas under certain ideas. I'm going to tell you from, and some of you who were there, you might be able to help me out. But in my mature years, I cannot recall what we were doing with this top part, the board roles, structure, alignment, committee members. I understand that one. We were identifying how many committee members we had for each committee. And I will tell you those numbers have changed. We've increased the membership. Can you scroll down to a little bit? Yeah, so that top part, I'm not totally clear on what we're doing, maybe just assessing where we are. But I think what we want to look at, and all of you have a copy of this because it was sent out with the meeting notice, in terms of what's on the left side, what is positive, and on the right side, what needs to change. And what I'd like for everyone to do is to really take a look at this. Some of the things in red, and Kim, you might be able to help us in terms of the color coding because we have red, black, green, and blue. But I think maybe in looking at these, you can sort of assess what those are. But so on the change side is really what we need to look at and think about as we move forward through 2020, ending 2024 and move into 2025. What do we need to do relative to increasing the foundational support that Hartford Next, so that we can be what we need to be for our NRZs. The convening, the bringing together, the advocating for and with, all the things that we should do to help improve our community. So I'd like to just open this up for a little bit of discussion. We have a few more minutes before we adjourn. It's 7:20. We are adjourning at 7:30. So let's just take a few moments to, for those of you who were at that event on the 2nd, and even if you weren't, does anything spark an idea in you? And Kim, if you could scroll down, I think there are a few more on the next page. Kim? Is this frozen or is it just me?
No, I hear you. She may have a lag
Okay.
with the screen share.
All right, while she's doing that, any discussion, any questions, any thoughts? And I know some people have ideas about things that we should be doing or could be doing, and priorities.
Mary, I have a quick question. What's the +1 after education and bringing people together? I just don't remember what that represented.
So I believe this was when we had different exercises, and at the end, we're putting on, big easel paper.
I think that just indicated another person. So people went up and wrote these down on the list, and then
okay, thanks. Now I remember.
Yeah.
And that's why there's repeats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was just I have that sheet on the wall. I can look at it right now, and this is just a transcription of what was on the sheet.
So
I guess maybe the one comment I'll make is that I think this is good as far as it went, but it probably could use further discussion to take this information and discuss each of the items to try to maybe identify and prioritize some of the ones that would be a higher priority than the others.
Elizabeth has her hand raised.
Elizabeth?
Hi, thank you. It would be, is the color coding, it would be good to understand it, or if it's just to help break it up so it's not a whole bunch of black text, which is nice, but, or is there an organizing factor there?
I don't think so, Elizabeth. I just realized if this is the way that we transcribed it, it means somebody picked up a red pen, somebody picked up
Okay,
a black
okay,
one, somebody picked up a blue one. Just-
okay,
yes, because
good to know.
I'm
Okay,
looking at it, that's what I remember. And you, thank
got
you.
it,
Not
got
my-
it. Thank you.
Yes. So the color coding doesn't mean anything. But I think Jack has a point. That's where what I wanted us to do is to take a look at this, jog our memories, and then let's try to move it forward in terms of let's prioritize, because this might jog your mind to say, well, there's something that's not here that I think is extremely important, and we need to prioritize that. So all I wanted to do today was to get us to think about this. What does it mean? It's been a while, clearly, but we have work to do and we need to prioritize what it is. So the color coding doesn't mean anything. Thank you, Elizabeth, for helping me to realize that. Any other questions?
If I could chime in, this is Janine. I think as I'm looking at this, there's additional bullets that we could have under each thing. So when we say bringing people together, what does that mean and what does that look like, right? So we could start maybe adding some action items under each thing. And then maybe it's another thing where we're identifying which committee does this particular action live with. And then the committee could then, create some type of strategic plan around the different things that fall under each committee, something along those lines to help chunk it down a little bit. So I think collectively we could look at all these bullets and determine what are the actions that we need to perform to make these things happen, and then identify which areas could best execute these different actions, and then we could figure out what committees need to collaborate on certain things. I think that might be helpful.
Wow. Janine, that is I'll say profound. Because my mind didn't go that way, but this makes perfect sense, because breaking something down into manageable pieces and dividing it up, and that would make it easier on everybody rather than looking at something and saying, I don't know where to start. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Janine, I agree with you. I think if you look, there's a lot of individual items that speak to reaching the community, for example. So I agree that kind of looking at the follow-up tasks that we might do, but as a first step, we can group the items that are speaking to the same idea.
Yeah, thank you, Bongi. Mary.
Yeah, so as I recall, the column on the right were the things that we were saying needs to be worked on.
Yes.
And I totally agree with Janine, right on. I also want to caution, we can't do everything. And I think part of the problem we've had in the past, that a lot of us have, is we can't be everything to everybody. So we need to really drill down, what will we really concentrate on, and how does it already fit with what the tools we already have, the programming we already have. But I think even more important, this needs to be what we decide we are going to be focusing on, needs to be on every board meeting agenda, so that we are checking with ourselves to see how far have we moved along. It's really easy to talk about the things we need to do, but actually getting down to the task of doing the things that will get us there can be a challenge. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. So you're really getting to accountability. If we say we're
Correct.
going to do something, then let's make sure we do it. And I think what Janine said in terms of breaking it up, as well as keeping it on each agenda, is important to keep it alive. So that's going to take all of us to make this work. So, well, we're at 7:27.
Oh, Mary Pelletier has her hand up.
Oh, I can't see. All right, Mary.
I wanted to mention that maybe the strategy for this is to get the committees to go through the list and, and do it from a committee perspective, like reaching all residents. Like, what does that look like from your committee, and then overlapping those, right? Like, because reaching all residents is mentioned twice. And so maybe different committees could like sift through this and kind of come up with their own condensed version of this list.
All right, thank you, Mary. Frank?
Yes, on that particular point of reaching all residents, I believe our mission is to enable the NRZs to reach all residents. I think, we want to keep in mind that our job is to create programs that empower the NRZs in fulfilling their mission. I don't think that it's either realistic or accurate to say that our mission is to reach all the residents of Hartford.
Yeah, I'll just chime in with one other thing that I think about every once in a while, and that is, Hartford Next has a mission, it's stated, and then each of the 13 NRZs sort of have their own missions. We might want to consider visiting that in terms of seeing where that comes together a little bit more.
All right. Thank you all for your comments. And again, as Mary indicated, we are going to keep this moving forward on each of our agendas. But I would ask that the committees take a look at this and at your next meeting and see what you come up with. Again, prioritize because we can't be everything to everybody and we can't do everything. So so as a close for the meeting, is there anything that we have not addressed that we needed to today? That we should think forward to our next board meeting?
So Marion, just a follow up to that, because I thought that last comment about sending it to the individual committees was a good idea. Are we going to execute on that? And should somebody take that on so that, because I think that's a really good idea to get this moving.
Yeah, so I think what can happen is everybody has this. It's up to the committee chairs, I think, to bring it to the committee, to their own committee. So just that's the action item from this meeting, to bring it to the committee. And just be realistic. You can't do everything. So what are the priorities based on your committee? And it could be just one or two things at most.
And it'll be interesting to actually talk about it at the next board meeting to see where. I think somebody talked about coalescing various committees to then support whatever actions we're going to take.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Bongi, for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:31 and we thank you for joining us today. I think this was productive in terms of helping us to be all on the same page. And thanks to Mary for setting up the resource page for us. But have a good evening and we will see you in November. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.